We're looking at box plots. I can create box plots. Let's look at some jokes. Do you like those jokes? Let's start with some vocabulary review. Couple important things. The first thing is the IQR, the interquartile range. The interquartile range is minusing Q3 from Q1. The lower quartile is the median of the lower half of the data. And the upper quartile is the median of the upper half of the data. Let's do some examples. Let's pause the video and put these in order. I have them in order from least to greatest. I double checked. I need to find out the median of my data set here. So I'll start off by crossing off the sides here in even increments. To get two remaining numbers. So my median is going to be in between the 59 and the 60, which is 59.5. Now, if you remember from our vocabulary, the overall median is the Q2, quartile 2. Okay, so this will be considered my Q2, the quartile 2. Now I have to find the median of the lower half of my data. So let's see, I have 6 numbers here, so we know that, okay, so I'll start off crossing off again. And I'm left with just 56 and 58 here. So in between 56 and 58 is 57. Now once again, if we look at our vocabulary, we can see that the Q1, the lower quartile, is the median of the lower half of my data. So that's going to be my Q1. Now let's find the median of the upper half of my data. Again, I have 6 numbers, so I'm going to have one of those in-between things here. Okay, so I've got 60. I'm left with 61 and 62. So in between 61 and 62 is 61.5. And that's Q3. Remember that the Q3 is also considered the upper quartile. It's the median of the upper half of my data. Now that I have my Q1, Q2, and Q3, I can go ahead and I can create my box plot. So pause the video and make a line numbered from 54 to 65. I have my line drawn. I can go ahead and label on my graph here. So let's see, my Q2, I like to start with that, is 59.5, so I'll put a dot here. Okay, that's my Q2. Then my Q3 is 61.5. And then my Q1 is 57. Now I'll draw boxes around my dots. And then 65 is my maximum number, so I'll draw a line to that. And then my minimum number is 54. It's important to understand that the data is broken up into quarters, where this is 25%, this is 25%, this is 25%, and this is 25%. Think of quartiles and quarters and how they sound very similar. If I wanted to find the IQR, the interquartile range, what would that be? Interquartile range of my data set here, I would do the interquartiles Q3 minus Q1. So I would do 61.5 minus 57. IQR is 4.5. The interquartile range is 4.5. My overall median is 59.5. My Q1, or the median of my lower quartile, is 57. My upper quartile is 61.5. My overall range would be 65 minus 54, which would be 11. So you could see how the interquartile range varies from the range itself. Now we're looking at the daily high temperatures for the last month. This is in Fahrenheit. Make a box plot for the data. So let's pause the video and put these numbers in order from least. I'm going to go ahead and find out what the median is, the overall median for my data set here. So let's see. So I'm going to mark off here an even amount each time. That's 4 and 4, 5 and 5, and I'm left with 83 and 84. So in between 83 and 84 is 83.5. Do you remember what we call the overall median for a data set? Well, in this case, this is called Q2, or quartile 2. Okay, that'll be a hint for the next part. Now I need to find the median for the lower quartile. Well, I've got 6 numbers here, so I know that it's going to be one of those in-betweeners again. So let's see. So I've got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm left with 78 and 75 here. Okay, so in between 78 and 75 is 78.5. That's my Q1. Now let's find the median for the upper half of my data. So I have here 6 numbers again. I'm between 88 and 89. So my upper quartile, or do you remember what that's called? A Q3 is 88.5. Now we've identified our 3 quartiles, we can go ahead and graph it. Take a minute and draw a number line. And I'll come back in just a minute. My number line is drawn here. I can go ahead and make my box plot. So I like to always start with my Q2, so I'll start with that. So my Q2 is in between 83 and 85, so I'm just going to put, but it's not quite 84, so I'm going to put it here. Okay, so let's see, that's my Q2, and now I'll make my Q 78. So we're talking about like maybe here. And then I have my Q3, which is way up here, which is 88.5. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and I'll draw my box plot. I need my ruler here. Draw my actual boxes. Okay. All right, there's my box plot. And now I'll go ahead and I will draw my upper and lower maximums, or my upper and lower extremes. So I have here 94. It's here. And I have my 75, which is way down here. Okay, there's my box plot. Okay, so here we go. Let's find our IQR here. Remember, the IQR is when we minus the interquartiles, Q3 minus Q1. So our Q3 minus Q1 was 88.5, and our Q1 was 78.5. So my interquartile range, the inside range of the boxes, is 10. Range for my overall data here is 94 minus 75. Range, my overall range is 19. We learned how to create box plots and do a little bit of interpreting as well. Thanks for tuning in.